Hi, my name is Gabrielle. I'm here with my colleague Karina. We're from Gazette, New Jersey's Hope and Healing program. And today we're going to present a webinar on coping with social isolation. And as well, at the end of the group, we'll talk about some groups that we're hosting for students from your college about coping with social isolation so you can get together and talk about your experiences. If you want to know more about that, there's a link at the end with a flyer for more information.
Who we are? We are the Crisis Counseling Program. The Crisis Counseling Assistance and Training Program is a federally funded supplemental program administered by the U.S. Department of Human Services and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Our goal today is to learn about social isolation, what the signs are, and how you can help yourself if you are experiencing social isolation.
So the overview of today's presentation and webinar, bottom line, experiencing social isolation is hard and you are so not alone. And part of how we can help is, helping understand what social isolation is, recognizing that you're not going through it alone and figuring out how you can cope with it and address it. So today we're going to go over what exactly social isolation is, what does coping look like, and what are active strategies that you can take to combat social isolation.
First and foremost, what is social isolation? Social isolation is the lack of social connection in one's life, whether it's the quantity or quality of relationships. It can lead to loneliness in many people. Quarantine and social distancing measures limit the opportunity to socialize, leaving many people feeling alone. It's normal to have a variety of feelings and reactions to social isolation. Uncertainty about the future can cause so many feelings of anxiety, depression, and isolation. If you look at the bottom, you can learn more about what isolation is by clicking the link.
And given all that has gone on in the past year or so, there's a lot of common reactions to social isolation. So looking at the left side, first learning how loneliness can contribute to increases in stress levels and lead to adverse health outcomes, such as increase in blood pressure, feelings of fear, sadness, worry, numbness, or maybe frustration. Some physical reactions like headaches, body pain, stomach problems, and rashes, sleep disturbances, which might include insomnia, difficulty concentrating and making decisions, and increased risk for a variety of physical and mental disorders. So that's kind of some things that people experience when they are going through social isolation. And some things that you might also see associated, going over to the right side where you see unhealthy lifestyle changes: smoking, increased alcohol and substance use, physical inactivity, poor diet, change in energy levels, lack of desires or interests, not taking prescribed medication. These are all things that people can experience for a number of reasons, social isolation being one of them. So maybe taking a look, if you're experiencing something like this, investigating maybe social isolation is part of the picture for you. And, recognizing, why are these challenges so common for people right now? There's a lot of restriction of movement, loss of social connections just by sheer virtue of our current situation and being remote for school, and so many other reasons, loss of employment and possibly financial worries, fear of contagion, fear of lack of access to basic supplies and medicine. All of this really keeps us at home, isolated, away from other people.
Next, we're going to talk about at-risk groups. And those are individuals that are particularly vulnerable to psychological issues during social isolation. Some risk factors include pre-existing mental health conditions, such as depression and anxiety, experiencing bereavement, hospitalization, and illness, struggling with substance use, living alone, being unemployed or having lost income, being under mandatory quarantine, and losing access to commonly used facilities like educational resources, sports, and entertainment. Smaller social networks and lack of medical support exacerbate these conditions. Many college students are affected due to impacted routines. But what can we do about this?
Yeah, it's a great question, Karina, because I think a lot of people want to know what can we do about this. And
Mhm.
one of the first things that we think about is coping. And that might be a word that, you've seen a lot on social media or in the news, coping, but what actually is it? So when we talk about coping, we think about coping mechanisms. These are strategies that are used in order to relieve stress and manage painful emotions. And we can think about specific coping mechanisms to address social isolation too. So something like maintaining your social network. How can we do that? It's really important to do that. You can stay in contact with family and close friends at a frequency that feels comfortable to you. So, for some people, that might be once a week. For some people, that might be they have a person they check in with every day. It really depends on your preferences and comfort. Maintaining contact virtually can help. So that might be a phone call, a video call, and other social media, right? So for some people, maybe they want that daily 30-minute phone call with a friend on a walk. Other people, maybe just knowing that their best friend might send them a TikTok video once a day, let them know they're thinking about them. Great, right? Like it really depends what's going to work for you. At the end of the day, trying to keep a routine and schedule so that you don't let days pass and feel isolated. So maybe if you know you're a person that needs that once a day check-in, making it a part of your routine and schedule, and engaging in peer activities on a regular basis. So again, just making sure that you're allowing yourself to not reach that point of social isolation if there are the supports there that you can lean on. Though, of course, we recognize that some people need or want to create new or more social connections. So at the bottom in blue, where it says more strategies, we thought a little bit about, how to even reach out to new people and make new connections. So one way is always to connect with resources at your university. And so, for example, student life, clubs and organizations, volunteering opportunities, these are all ways to connect with people on similar interests. Kind of gives you already this built-in thing that you have in common that you can talk about and discuss with people. Again, student groups based on hobbies and interests, that's another one, maybe student-led groups and organized groups. Also, like we mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, our Hope and Healing program will be hosting virtual groups coming up where you can interact with other people from your school specifically experiencing social isolation. And more information, including the dates and Zoom information and all of that, will be available at the end of this webinar.
Another aspect of social isolation is reducing your vulnerability. And part of what you can do is take care of yourself. You can reduce your vulnerability to experiencing stress. It might feel easier to cope with hardship. A car can't run on an empty tank of gas. Be sure to fill your body's gas tank to handle what comes your way. Make time for your hobbies and interests. Even if it's a brief part of your day, be sure to experience some type of joy. Mental health. Take breaks from watching the news and from your coursework to set time for yourself. Seek professional mental health care if your stress, anxiety, or mood begin to interfere with your daily functioning. You can click on the hyperlink right there, and it'll take you to a helpline that can connect you with some local services in your area. And some areas of health and wellness would be sure to maintain a consistent sleep schedule, also with a link to some sleep tips attached. Eat a well balanced diet, stay hydrated, go outdoors, and if you're feeling up to it, exercise regularly, such as walks or indoor workouts. You can look up videos on YouTube, those are really helpful.
So thank you all so much for making it through this webinar with us on a really important and really common topic. So what's next? Like Karina and I have been saying, we are hosting some virtual groups specifically for NJIT students, and they will be hosted by Karina and myself. So we're going to host the groups for 4 weeks. We're going to host separate groups for residential students and commuter students, so you can attend which webinar most fits with you. And if you click the link to this flyer, you'll see the exact dates, Zoom information, all that good stuff. Some other places where you can find us, that's our Instagram handle. You can also contact us at that email address, njhopeandhealing@rutgers.edu. You can ask us questions about the webinar if you have them, or anything else that you might want to share. There's also a link there to our actual website where you can click to see more of our services, including brief contacts with people from our program, text lines, things like that. Thank you so much for your time today, and please do reach out to us or to people in your network if you are feeling isolated at this time.
Yes, thank you so much.
Take care.